What's up? Welcome back, enchanters. And after, I think it was long awaited, wait, this was in June, July, August, September. After a 4-month long awaited review, well, wait time, right? I finally am bringing you the review of our Beckett Pokemon results. So this is my first time ever grading cards. I learned so much from this experience, which I'm going to share with you all today. We're going to bring you all closer so you can see the review. Now, fair warning, I do know the results of everything. I knew from the moment in which I placed my submission, and I'm going to go through all those details in a moment. Before we get started, let me introduce myself. My name is Jean-Pierre Bon Jovi. I am a content creator, collector at heart here on this channel, and it means the world to have you here. So if you happen to come across the YouTube algorithm and you happen to have found this video, it means the world. Let's stay connected. Hit that smash button below, subscribe to this channel, and most importantly, hit that bell to get notified and turn on all notifications when we upload content every Monday and Thursdays. We do have a giveaway as well once we reach the 2,000 subscriber mark, so make sure you subscribe. Now, before I dive in, I want to let y'all know what the process was, etc. I'm not gonna, I know there's a lot of other content creators who they literally know what they're getting and it's a quote unquote surprise. And then they're cards are sorted in a certain way where they're saving the best grades for last. We're not doing that today. I'm gonna share with you my technique, what I did, how much I spent, what the total of this cost me, and all that fun jazz. There was a few learning curves I learned as well, and it's great. So what I will start off by saying is I chose to grade with Beckett versus PSA. One, because I personally like the slabs on Beckett. I love that depending on the rating, they go from white to potentially even a black perfect, sorry. So I do love that component. Also, growing up, I used to grow up on the Beckett, I used to get the Beckett catalogs and used to create Beckett used to have the checklist of every card from older trading card game sets, which I love too. So Beckett for me has stood the test of time. And what was also very convenient was that Beckett's in Dallas, Texas, which is 4 hours away from me. I live in Houston. Now, I was not going to mail these because I was sending an approximate value with Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! Potentially up to $100,000 worth of cards. I graded a total of 106 cards. Today we're just going to review the Pokemon, and in my next video, stay tuned, we're going to review the Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards. And so there was a fear as if I mailed these, they can get lost. And then what, right? So I drove to Beckett, and I dropped these off, and then I drove to Beckett and picked them up. I just got back yesterday from picking these up after a 9-hour drive going and coming. I'm exhausted, but I'm so excited. So what happened was I did get an email this past Monday notifying me that the cards were ready, and the email gave me the results of every card, which is pretty awesome. Now, some tips and things that I did to secure confidence, right, with grading with Beckett. I will say overall, I would give the experience a 7 out of 10, and I think that's quite solid. I thought the experience was great. I can't complain. I have cards that I got, particularly in Yu-Gi-Oh, that are worth the total cost, what it took me what it cost me to grade all these cards. And many of you may be curious how much it cost. So it's $35 per card to grade, flat. So it's $35 per card to grade, and that's economy, meaning that it can take up to 60 business days. So remember, it's business days, hence why it took 90 days, including weekends, right? But I did expect this to be ready by the first week of October, and it was for the most part. So I was impressed with the turnover rate, with the turnover time, which was awesome. And then you pay taxes, so $35 plus Texas state tax, right? And so you're looking at let's say $37 and something change to grade per card. Outside of that, you have to pay for insurance. Now, you don't pay for insurance if you pick up and drop off in person, which is pretty awesome. God forbid any of the cards get lost during transit, insurance is, that's gonna suck, right? Now, what's awesome is Beckett will cover you if for whatever reason they lose your card or damage your card. They will cover the cost of what it most recently sold for based on your estimation of what it was. So you do have to go to Beckett. And by the way, I dropped it off at their old location and I picked up at their new location because they just moved to a different location. And so you can print this out on their website. And manually you have to put, and I'm going to bring y'all closer, you're going to see that in a moment. When I come closer, I'll let you see what this looks like. But you put there's up to 13 cards per page that fit. The sport, this is Pokemon, the quantity per card, the year was released, the set name, alongside like if it's a holo, non-holo, I think that's really supportive. The card number, the card name, and then the declared value. So it's the declared value based on what you think what it's currently selling for in the aftermarket. So for instance, if it's the Radiant Charizard that just came out, and I know that it is currently selling for in a PSA 10 for, I don't know, $100, right? Let's say $200, right? I don't think it's going for $200. It's such a new card and it's been quite overprinted. But anyhow, let's say I see it most recently sold for $200, and it's not just because you go on eBay and you see most recently sold for $200. If it wasn't a bid, like an actual auction that went on, and it was just one person who bought it, like buy it now, typically you can't go for that because it's necessarily not competitive, and it could be just fake. It could be the seller itself who just bought it just to increase the value of the card for the next person to then pay that value when they repost it, right? So I based all my, basically what I did was that I looked at every card I was going to send based on, I observed it. I gave it my personal grade, which again, which was an amateur grade because I've never graded cards. And I will tell you, I was quite spot on with most of the grades. And that's why I'm giving this like a 7 out of 10 because I was really impressed. The disappointment I'll share with y'all later. And I would love to hear your feedback if you've ever graded, because there's something I'm not getting in the calculation of the overall grade. So I'd love to hear your feedback. So please keep watching, because I get to be enlightened as to why there's about 22 cards of mine that I thought that should have gotten a better grading based on the number averages. But anywho, we'll dive into that a little later. And then what I did is I graded it myself, and based on the grade I gave it, I then looked up at that price, and if it sold for a certain amount of money, that's the value I gave the card. So if it got lost, right, they would look into it and they'd say, yeah, this card is worth X, Y, and Z. Now, the one thing I did was I kept a copy myself of this, of the original copy before I dropped it off with them, and I put an actual subgrade for every card that I thought it was going to be. So as you can see, I have subgrades anywhere from 7 to about 9.5 on this page. Nothing was a 10. You know, I like to also, like, you know, I'm not gonna like gas myself up here and say that some of the cards were a 10 when I know they weren't. But I do know that even if they came in at an 8.5 or even a 7.5 or a 9.5, that it would still be worth the $35 investment, right, of getting the card graded. And we're gonna get to it, we're gonna unveil everything here, but I really want you to understand the logic behind this, because a lot of people want to grade, and I don't think a lot of videos do a good job at explaining how to grade and what to look into, right, and what to expect. Now, overall, for all 106 cards, I believe I paid $4,008 to grade everything, so it's quite steep. And I got a Yu-Gi-Oh card that's worth like nearly $10,000 that I graded. So if I sell that, I'm getting $6,000 on the return on my investment. It's probably going to pay the taxes I'm going to end up having to pay once I sell everything, right? But everything else is pure profit, which is awesome. I mean, minus the fact that I bought these years ago and I don't know, God knows how many packs I opened, but it still is going to be a profit. So it's something to consider. And there's some cards here that, you know, I don't think I had any card that was not worth grading. There's no card here that's going to resell for under like $50. So everything was definitely worth grading. For the most part, all these cards here are worth anywhere from, like, on average, $200 to about, I like to say $4,000 is the median average. Some a little bit more than that, and very few that are under 200. So that's really exciting, right? And so then what I did was I whited everything. I made a copy of this, and then the other copy that I gave to Beckett, I whited out my gradings. I didn't want them to see the bias of what my grading would be, because if I gave something a 9, I didn't want them to give it a 9 when it could potentially get a 10. And if I gave something a 10, I didn't want them to be like, yeah, quit blowing smoke up your ass, and then give me a 9, right? So I wanted to white that out as well. So then I put the totals, and then I ran the totals. The total value for everything that I had was about $78,000 is what I had as a value, a declared value. And if they messed up, if they lost my card, they would have to then compensate me for that. And of course they said, we're not going to go by that number. We're going to go by that specific, you know, what we thought that card would have gotten graded at it, like let's say a 10 or a 9, and then we'd give you that. Of course, nothing got lost. I got everything, but the insurance covers if it gets lost in the mail, going or coming. So very, 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 very important that you have to get that insurance. So I would have paid a whole lot more money. Instead of like $4,008, I would have paid close to like about, I forgot what they said it was, but I was looking at paying about maybe $5,000, $5,200 just to get them insured. But because I took that trip, I saved $1,000. So worth it. And again, most people don't have that luxury. But again, if you know that you're grading a value of over $50,000, it is worth the drive. I'm just gonna put that out there. It is worth doing that. And then you'd have to send them an email, the Texas seller, and schedule an appointment. Don't show up unannounced. You have to set an appointment. They expect you at a certain time. You drop them off, and then they'll have you go on your way. The whole transaction of dropping it off took about 25 minutes, and I got lucky. I called, couldn't get through to anyone. I just showed up, and there was just an amazing, amazing woman who supported me and was able to take the cards, and it was just a smooth process. And she's like, "You're lucky I'm here because we don't do this." So something to bear in mind. And then when picking up, the same thing, set an appointment. Don't just show up unexpectedly, because the workers were very kind. And again, I called, I set an appointment, but I technically didn't have one. There was a gentleman who was coming back from lunch, and he was the one who he said, "Come in." I waited at their cafeteria while he got me the cards and reviewed everything. He was super kind and sweet. And again, the overall experience with the employees was just amazing. And that was pretty awesome. So what we're gonna do here today is we're gonna go over my list. So what I graded it, what it got, and like if there are any discrepancies. So I'm gonna take y'all up close and personal so you could see it. One card, the first card I sent, which was card number 1, did not get graded. So we're gonna dive into that as well, why it wasn't graded. I have not opened it myself. I was told why it wasn't, but I have not checked it for myself. So we're gonna explore it together to see if we can call BS on some of this. And there's going to be a select, like I said, there's 22 cards here that I'm in question of, and there's about maybe like 10, 15 cards, this includes Yu-Gi-Oh, of course, that I may want to consider breaking the slab and sending it over to PSA, because I know it's going to make me so much more money if it comes in a PSA, in a 9, in a grade higher, or even a 10. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, so let's dive in. We're going to dive into the first card, which was a base set 2 Charizard, was the only card that they were not able to grade. Now, I know PSA returns your money for the grade. You know, I forgot to ask. I did not get a reimbursement for this, so it's definitely something I'm going to call. I have about 300 cards. The last 300 cards I'm going to get graded later in December, but it's going to be costly, so I want to get rid of some of this to make that investment. It's going to cost me close to about 10K to get those cards graded. And I kind of just want to get it over and out the way with, because I do get to travel back and forth to Houston. So I'm definitely going to ask them about this, because I did not get a reimbursement for this. And if you know, then you know. This was not able to be graded because they said something about the back. Right in the back down here on this corner, there was evidence of color added, as if someone colored, there was just like color added to the card. I don't know what that means. I'm pretty sure they put this under a specific light, and if the light picks up any color, then the card is tampered with. Now, it's not that the card's fake, it's that someone tampered with it. Now, personally, I didn't ever pull this. I believe I traded this years ago. I was a kid when I traded this card. So I don't know for myself what it is. I can't like confidently say I know. This is one of the only cards that I didn't own. And so right on the bottom right here, there's evidence that the card has been colored, which let's see for myself. I mean, I don't see anything. Right, it says that it's right there. I mean, I don't see absolutely anything. The card is an authentic card. I had given this card a 7 is what I gave. It was one of the lowest grades ever, but I knew that it would still sell for a significant amount because it was a Charizard from base set 2. I mean, it has so much surface scratches. The edges have a little bit of like, you know, that hollow bleed. And then the back, there was that little corner right there. And then there's a dent right there as well, and some there. So I knew this card was going to come in at like a 6 to a 7. Unfortunately, it didn't get graded. So I'm going to try my luck with PSA. Maybe PSA won't see that as an issue, or, you know, but I'm a little disappointed with that. I wish you could speak with the grader, and, you know, but can't. So that was the only card that wasn't graded, but I was charged for it. So that kind of blows, right? But we're going to try our luck with PSA. Now, let's get started. So the first thing we have was a Jungle First Edition non-hollow. I gave it an 8.5. If you see a yellow, that means that it actually went up and they gave it a better grade. It got a 9. It got a 9 on all 3 subjects, and on surface it got a 10, which was pretty awesome. There was a very few 10s. I think only like about 20 of my cards had at least 1 10 on them. So they don't give 10s out easily at all. So I was very, very, very happy with this card. Very happy with the result. At a 9, it goes for about $300, maybe a little bit more. I know at an 8, it goes for $150, so I'm assuming at a 9, it's going to go for a little bit more than $300. So really, really, really excited about that. And if it is a 9 or an 8.5, it gets a silver slab. So it gets this silver little slab, which is pretty awesome. Next, we got Vaporeon. This is the Hollow Vaporeon, also first edition. I gave this an 8.5. It came in at an 8.5. Okay, awesome. So it actually got the grade, the same grade that I gave it, which is awesome. And you'll see that for the most part. Now, this goes for about, at an 8.5, it goes for about $100. So yay, it's pretty awesome. Those are the subgrades. Now, the thing that I don't understand here, and this was my discrepancy, I get this being an 8.5. We're actually going to dive into that later. Hold on. There's a few of these that I'm just like, why did this get this grade? So here we have the Vaporeon non-hollow. I gave this one a 9. What is going on here? Yeah, I gave this one a 9, and it did come in at a 9. So actually, this did get the grade, same grade. So, I mean, we're doing quite solid right now. So again, this one goes for about $40. It's one of the most inexpensive ones, so I kind of just like broke even with this card, but I may hold on to it for some time, or maybe it's worth more. Who knows? It got 2 9s and 2 9s and 2 9.5s, and it'll always take the grade lower. So if it would have been 3 9.5s and 1 9, it would be a 9.5. But because it has 2 9.5s and 2 9s, it automatically goes with the grade lower, which is a 9, which makes sense. The discrepancy is coming soon, I promise. Now, this is the Dragonite non-hollow. I gave this a 9.5. It came in as a 9, so it was a little disappointing. 0.5 less. As you could see, they all 9s everywhere, and the surface got a 9.5. Again, not mad. I'm not mad at it, but one of the grades that I thought would get better did worse. Next, we have the Raichu. I gave this an 8.5. It came in as an 8. And so this is, I think this is one of the cards I can say is a discrepancy. Oh no, I get it now. I see why it was an 8. Yeah, this makes sense. This makes sense. So we got one 9.5, pardon, and on surface got a 7.5, and this came two 8.5s. This came in at an 8. Again, actually, you know, it doesn't really make sense to me. I'm going to tell you why this doesn't make sense to me, this grading, because if you were to take 0.5 and add it here, it would be 9, 8.5, 8.5, 8. And if you were to take another 0.5, it would be 8.5, 8.5, 8.5, 8.5. So this should be, when you add these numbers and divide them, you should get an 8.5. So I don't understand why they would give this a grading of an 8. So that's my discrepancy. And hence, I gave this an 8.5. So again, like, I have a massive discrepancy with how they grade this right here, because if you're going to grade, I don't understand their grading. It doesn't mathematically make sense. The card's grade is based on all 4 of these subjects. So you have to equally add all 4 subjects and divide it by 4 in order to get the grade. And they don't do that, which is really upsetting. Very, very, very disappointing. And about 22 cards this happened to. So this is something I want to just get further. I want to have a further understanding towards this, so I can be clear on it. Because I was not under that impression. Next we have Ditto. Now this card, I gave it a 9.5. It came in as an 8.5. And what really killed this card was the surface. A lot of these cards, like they were like surface, and I'm like looking everywhere on the surface and I see absolutely nothing. And then like centering, the centering came in quite low at an 8.5, but the centering looks so, I mean, it looks a tad bit heavier, just a tad bit heavier, but that doesn't equate for a 1.5, you know, deduction, maybe a 0.5, not a 1.5. So I was very confused with this, very disappointed with this grading, and this is something I might consider getting graded at PSA. So I'm going to set that aside as well. These right here, I was very happy with, so no complaints. Next, we have the Dragonite Hollow. Now, this is an unlimited, unlike the other ones that were first edition. This one right here, I had this one in at an 8 to 7.5, and it came in at a 7.5, so you know what? I'm not mad at it, right? Surface is what really killed this card, and there is like a laser print coming right down there, so I get that. But I'm happy with a 7.5. It's not, I mean, what is it worth? This card at a 7.5 is worth like $100. So it is what it is, right? But I'm happy with the grade. It's fair. Next, we have Lieutenant Surge. Now, this card, I gave it a 9.5. It came in at a 9. And again, makes perfect sense. I get it. I get the grade. I respect the grade. And what killed it was the surface, but I don't see any surface damage. And many times people think, well, surface means like on the actual hollow. No, you have to look at the entire card surface, back and front. And again, I don't see why this didn't get a better grade. This is something I would consider sending over to PSA. So I'm putting that on the side. Next, we have Koga. And just for the record, PSA 9, 9.5, or 10, or perfect 10 in Beckett, any day of the week is worth more than PSA. PSA is God. Like, that's it. Like, that is the standard. But if you compare a 9 Beckett with a 9 PSA, a Beckett 9 will always sell for more than a PSA 9, always. It's far more challenging. And it does have that prestige. Where PSA, most people aesthetically have the PSA slabs. So they like being consistent with their collecting. And so because they are the gold standard, it's preferable, right? That people want a PSA. But again, you can't argue that a Beckett 8.5 is equivalent. A Beckett 8.5 can sometimes be equivalent to a PSA 10. Now, I will say PSA has gotten a lot this past year alone in 2022. They've become a lot more challenging with their grading, which I think is awesome. They're not just like giving everyone 10s anymore and 9s. So they are becoming a lot more competitive with that rigor, which is awesome. But it's still not a Beckett 8.5 or a CGC. I personally think CGC has the ugliest slab, so that's why I did not go grade with CGC, but they are just as competitive and difficult to grade with as Beckett is. And don't ever get your cards graded if it's not CGC, if it's not Beckett, and if it's not PSA. Do not grade with any other company. Those are the 3 only companies to ever grade with. You were significantly devaluing the value of your card if you grade with any other company. Next, we have Koga. Koga, I got in at an 8.59. It came in at 8.5. We're not mad at it. We are not mad at it at all. Now, there you have it. So you are fine. Then we have Giovanni. Giovanni, I gave him an 8.59. He came in at a 9. I'm so not mad at this. That's the grade I authentically gave it. And so I'm very, 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 very happy about that. This also goes for about $100. Now, these I was a little disappointed with. We have Pokemon Center. Now, at an 8.5, this card goes for $600. Now, this is an 8, but this is a Beckett 8, so it still goes for like about maybe $500 because it's still a Beckett 8, which is probably equivalent to a PSA 9, right? Which is still awesome. The surface got a 7, y'all. I looked all over the surface. This card was in pristine condition. I don't understand how. I do know that there's a little edge right there. That was the biggest issue. The centering on this was awesome. It was maybe a little heavy on the top in centering, which I understood as well, but I saw this definitely as an 8.5. It got an 8, but I'm okay with it. I'm happy with it. It's about a $500 card. We shall keep it. Then we have Lucky Stadium. Now, Lucky Stadium, I gave this card a 9. At a 9, it goes for about $800. It came in at an 8.5, which again, it is what it is, right? The surface again for me was pristine. I do know there was like a little dent here on the edge right here, which I get that. But outside of that, it was pretty solid. Maybe a little bit over up here too, but it was a solid card. So a little disappointed, but again, I'm not mad. We're going to keep the grade. Now we're going to move on to the next page. We have a total of 4 more pages to go. And the cards are going to get more and more epic. And I'm literally doing it in the order in which I numbered these and graded them. So the last card is not going to be the best card. It's like literally right around the corner. So next we have from Team Rocket's first edition holo, we have the Dark Slowbro. It's 8.5 everywhere. I gave this card an 8 and it came in at an 8.5. So I am happy about this. That increased the value a little bit. So that's freaking awesome, awesome, awesome. Next we have Shining Magikarp, the very first Shining card ever released. This card, I gave this a 9.5 and it came in at an 8.5. So I was really, really, really bummed about that. Really bummed about that. It is what it is, right? I think centering was awesome on this. I mean, everything looks so amazing on this. I'm not the happiest with this grade. I'm going to be completely transparent. I'm really not happy with it. It isn't unlimited. And this would have gone for a 9.5. It would go for 400. And 8.5, it's probably going to go for like 150, which really blows, right? Like that's more than half of the value. This one right here, I'm on the fence. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this. I might regrade, I might not, but we'll keep that on the side. Then we have Shining Gyarados. So we have the Shining Gyarados. This card I gave a 9 and it came in at a 9. So very, 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 very happy with that. I can't complain. I cannot complain at all. Now, this is the thing that makes no sense here. And you're going to see in a moment a little later. As you can see, you got 9.5, 9.5, 9.5, 8.5, but they brought it down to a 9, which makes sense because if you take 0.5 here and add there, you got 2 9s, 2 9.5s, 9 wins. But they were not consistent with that in other cards, and they gave me a much lower grade. And those are the ones I'm going to contend, which I have not experienced yet, so we're going to dive in a moment with that. Next, we have my favorite Pokemon card ever made. This is the most gorgeous card in my experience ever made in the history of any Pokemon holo. I think this is the most gorgeous card ever. And this is, I'm not even sure if I want to part ways with it. This is the Unlimited Espeon from Neo Discovery. As you can see, it has a 9.5, 9, 9, 8.5. Take that 5 over. It's a solid 9 all around. It's such a freaking beautiful card. This card is just gorgeous. Very happy with the grade. The next one, I gave this card and... by the way, I graded this at a 10, though. I gave this card a 10, and it was downgraded to a 9, so that kind of blows. So I didn't get the grade I want, but again, I'm not mad. Now, the Umbreon, I gave an 8.59, and I got a 9. So I'm very happy with this. It got the grade I thought I was going to get. This is the most gorgeous Umbreon ever made. He's just freaking sexy. So really happy about that too. Now, this card was the biggest disappointment in the video was the grade on this card. This card I gave an 8.5. Came in at a 6.5. It's the lowest grade you're going to see today was this card right here. And this is where this doesn't make sense for me. We got 9, 9, 6, 7. If you were to take 1 point out of here, 1 point out of here, right, and bring this to an 8 and 8 and carry those two to this, you'd have an 8 and 8 and 8 and a 7. And of course, this card would get a 7.5, which is, I gave this card an 8.5. This card should be an 8.5, a 7.5, sorry. Instead, it's a 6.5, and I do not understand the math here. So this is something just like the Pikachu, just like the Raichu, I'm going to contend with them because I don't contest, sorry, with them because I don't agree with that. The first ever appearance of Lugia. Now this card, I gave an 8 and it got a 9. So obviously we're not mad. I wish it was a first edition. It is not a first edition. This card is absolutely gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. So freaking happy. This was awesome. for Alligator. This card right here, I gave an 8.5. It came in at an 8. So, there you have it. I'm not going to contest this either. Now, this card here was Pichu. I gave a 9, and it came in at an 8.5, which was so disappointing. And this is one of those cards. Oh, I'm just so disappointing. But the grade makes sense. The 8.5, like, I get it. The surface is what they say was the surface was the issue. I mean, I inspected this card. There was nothing wrong with the surface of this card. So this is definitely something just making sure here. This is definitely something I may want to get regraded because it's a first edition Pichu. And if I can get this to a 10 or even a 9 at PSA, I mean, you're making double the money for this. I was expecting off of this card to make $400, but at an 8.5, who knows? Maybe, maybe not. So this is on my maybe list of cards that may get regraded at PSA. This card I gave a 9.5. It's the first gold I think you're seeing today. So it is a gold label gem mint 9.5. Yeah, I think this is the first 9.5 y'all are seeing today. And we got quite a few, which I'm very happy. Many in Yu-Gi-Oh as well. So 9.5 Skamori. This goes for about 150. I don't understand why it's so cheap at a Beckett 9.5 though. And again, all these subgrades I got here were PSA. Beckett is a little bit more pricier. So I can easily see this go for, you know, a 9.5 is a PSA 10. It really is. I can just get this reslabbed at PSA and I can get a 10 for this. So, I'm very happy with this. Very, 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 very happy with this. So yay. Now, the second best set to get. This was the most expensive card in the set that I graded because it's a first edition and it's the Typhlosion. I gave it an 8. It came in at an 8. So, I mean, you can't complain, right? The grade is what the grade is. I'm very happy. That's what I thought I would get, and I love that I got it. And I think the issues with this was the surface. There were some laser print lines, which were the biggest issue with this. And then the centering was big on the bottom to top. But outside of that, it also had some edge wear. But an 8, very happy with this. This goes for about $400, so I ain't mad at it. Then we have an Empoleon level, an Empoleon, well, both of these. This is from Diamond and Pearl base set. I gave them both a 9, as you could see, and they both came in at a 9. So again, I think I did really good. And again, like I said, the grading was very, very, very fair. No complaints. Those go for about $200 each, $250. Now, the next card, we're diving right into it. I was disappointed with. So the next card is the Charizard Gold Star. Now, by the way, all these cards you see today, outside of this Charizard right here that didn't get graded, I pulled myself. I collected these when they all came out, early 2000s, and I pulled all these cards myself from my childhood. And funny story, I kept them all in binders, like binders with no sleeves. They were in sleeves, but they were in the 9-pack sleeves. That's what they were in. And they were never sleeved up. So very happy by that. I mean, 95% of my cards did not experience any damage from doing that. And again, obviously, sleeve your cards up and then put them in a binder. So this card I gave a 9.5. Disappointed with this grading. It came in at an 8.5, which was really, really disappointing. Now, this is a discrepancy I have with this. Bring down the 0.5 here, you have a 9 and a 9. Bring up the 0.5 from here to here, you have a 9 and 9. This card should be a 9. So I'm going to contest this. Why it came in at 8.5, I have no idea. The one thing I am aware of is the centering. Now, funny story, I pulled in the same box. I pulled the Charizard Gold Star and I pulled the Mew Gold Star in the same box. I know, crazy. And I knew the centering was poor right here from left to right. It's heavier on the left and on the right. So I knew that going in, but the centering was the flaw in this. That I knew that the centering would give me a 9, 9.5. That's it. The edges are immaculate. There's the teeniest. So, you know, maybe a 9 there, but it is solid. It is a solid card. The surface, they gave it an 8.5. There are no laser prints on this set. Nothing. It's just an incredible condition. So I'm definitely going to contest this because this should be a 9. Next, we have this Mew. And the Mew is, this I gave it a 9. And this was even worse. The centering on this was even worse. As you could see, that was bad. The centering was really, you know, even from top to bottom, it's still a little heavier on the bottom and then left to right. The centering was horrible, so I knew that coming in. But everything else was just incredible. Like, there's nothing on this. And so this one came in at an 8, and it's the same thing with this. If you bring over the 0.5 here, you have an 8 and 8, a 9, and a 9.5. And if you bring down the point, actually, sorry, bring down the 0.5 here, you have an 8, a 9, and an 8.5. This should have gotten an 8.5 minimum. I don't understand how they give it an 8. It makes no sense. There are more 9s than there are 8s. So it doesn't make sense. So I'm contesting that as well. This was another massive disappointment. This was probably the biggest disappointment because this card, I gave it a 10. The Rayquaza EX from Frontier. This card was just impeccable. The centering was amazing. No laser prints. And these sets typically had like laser print lines. None of that. Surface was immaculate. Everything about this card was just perfection. And it came in. What I thought would have been a 10, a 7.5. And they're saying surface was a 6.5. Like, I don't see where the surface is flawed at all. Like, for a 6.5 surface, like, there has to be a bent. There has to be a crease. Something. There is nothing on this. So I'm definitely getting that regraded for sure. This was a freaking massive hitter. I gave this a 9.5. It came in at a 9.5. And it's the reverse hollow Lugia from Unseen Forces. Very happy with this. Can't complain. This card goes for about $2,000 at a 9.5 PSA. This is technically a 10. So, I mean, this card would be graded at 10 if this was a PSA. So 9, look, I'm going to be honest, 9.5s are basically 10 PSAs. So these can go for that price as well. It is considered a gem mint. It's extremely difficult to get a 10. Extremely difficult to get a 10 with Beckett. And it's almost nearly impossible to get a perfect 10, which is a black label. Very happy with this grade. Next, we have the Feraligatr, which this card I gave in at a 9.5, and the Magnum I gave a 9, and instead I got an 8.5 for the Feraligatr. So I got a whole point and a half lowered on that. And with this one, I got a 9, which makes perfect sense. So the Magnum, I'm not mad at all. The Meganium, sorry, I'm not mad at all. It got the grade I wanted. Yay. This one I'm going to contest because here we go again. If you get 4 and divide it by all these numbers, you're going to get 8. You're going to get a total of 9. Why am I getting an 8.5? We have 2 9.5s, 2 8.5s. What's literally in the middle of that? A 9. Why would I get an 8.5? I get if this was a 9, a 9, and 8.5, 8.5. I get the 8.5. But sweetheart, this should be a 9. So I'm going to contest that as well. I didn't understand the grading on that. Now, this card I'm very disappointed in because I gave this card a solid 10. This is the Umbreon EX. And at a solid 10, this card was one of the most expensive cards I graded, was nearly $4,000. And it came in at an 8.5, which also makes absolutely no sense because we have 2 9.5s, 1 9, and 1 8. If you bring over these 0.5s and add it to here, you have a 9, 9, 9.5, 9.5. So the grade should be a 9. Why is it an 8.5? Again, have y'all experienced this before? Why am I just discovering this? Makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. I thought this card was in incredible condition. I would say that this card would give me a 10 easily as a PSA, and there's my $4,000, bro. So absolutely, I'm going to contest this because an 8.5 brings the value to this card to like about $800, and that's a huge difference. Next, we have the Latias, and this card right here, I gave this a 9.5. It came in at an 8.5, and the surface was the issue. I looked all over the surface. I do not understand how this card got what it got. I'm not happy with this grade whatsoever. So this is definitely something I'm going to regrade for sure, right? And And the same thing here. Bring this down. This should be a 9. Automatically, this should be a 9 because how do you get 9.5, 9.5, 9.5, 7.5? Again, get the 0.5s from all that. Add that to that. That's a solid 9 right across the board. I'm going to contest that as well. I just don't get the grading. Next, we have the Latios. Also came in. This one came in at a 9. This one I given a 9.5, so I'm not mad at it. And there you have it. See, it makes sense here. 8.5, 9, 9.5. You add, bring over the 0.5. That's a 9, 9. That's a 9, 9, 9.5, 9. Yeah, and you'd get a 9. This makes sense. Now, this was another heavy hitter. We got the Rayquaza at a reverse Hello and Phantoms at a 9.5. I will take that. That was a beautiful grade. It only goes for like about $200, but again, at a PSA 10, that's the price I have to quote this at because 9.5s are equivalent to basically PSA 10s. This is one of the best cards that we got. This is the Mew EX. I gave this a 9.5. It came in at a 9.5. Very, very, very happy with this grading. All right. We'll move on to the next page. We're going to go a little faster here. So here we have Blastoise and Venusaur from Fire Red. And the Blastoise I gave a 9.5. It got a 9.5. Super happy about that. The Venusaur came in at an 8. Again, look, 9, 9, 9.57. How did this get an 8? How? How? This should have been a 9. Or at least an 8.5. Minimum an 8.5. You know, bring down the 0.5 here at 7.539. Bring this down. That's let's say you just bring this down. That's 8, 8, 9.59. This should have been minimum, and 8.5. I don't understand how they graded this. So I'm going to contest that as well. And if I can't get anywhere by contesting the grades, then I'm then going to just get them regraded at PSA. I don't want to sell these because I know I can make a lot more. Next, we have Base Set Expedition, and we have a total of 6 cards. So we got the Charizard. I gave this a 9, 9.5. It came in at a 9. Happy about that. So, yay. By the way, if you're interested in any of these cards, I am selling them. They're all up for sale. For Alligator, gave it a 9. It came in at a 9. Very happy with that. Gengar, a little disappointed with this one. I gave this a 9. It came in at a 7.5. Yeah, 7.5. I just don't understand how. Surface was a 6.5. I don't see the damage on the surface anywhere to equate a 6.5. So this is something I am going to get regraded over at PSA. Then we have Kingler. Kingler, I got in a 9. I came in at a 9, so I'm very happy with that. Poliwrath, I gave this card an 8.59. It came in at a 9. And lastly, Vileplume, I gave this card an 8. It came in as an 8.5, so I'm very happy with that. Last 2 cards on this sheet is Dragonite and Umbreon from Delta Species. Dragonite, I gave this a 9.5. It came in at an 8.5, which was very disappointing. And again, the grade makes no sense here. If you carry the 0.5 here, this should be a 9. It should not be an 8.5. And then we have pardon me. And then we have the Umbreon. I gave this a 9.5. It came in at a 9.5. Very, very happy about that. We're going to dive into the last stack. All right, so let's move on to the last page. So here we have Neo Destiny, and it's none other than the unlimited, unfortunately, Shinings. And I'm so excited for these. So the first one we have is, I gave this a 9.5, came in at a 9, which is the Shining Celebi. It's absolutely gorgeous. What hurt this again was surface. I don't see any surface damage on this at all. So it's really disappointing. But then again, a Beckett 9 many times can be equivalent to a 10. I'm not going to contest this. We're going to keep it. Next card was the Charizard. I gave this a 10. Came in at a 9. Very disappointed with this. It was a 9 straight across the board. I just feel like they were just like, you know what? We don't want to give you that 10. We're going to give you a 9 because we're Beckett. So that was really, really, really disappointing. This card is in perfect condition. I'm going to see if a Beckett 9 would be equivalent to a PSA, you know, if I can get close to a PSA 10 price. If this was a 10, it would cost $4,000. So the 9 is significantly going to bring this down. So this may be a card I may want to get regraded. So this is on my maybe pile. Next, we have Kabutops. I gave this a 9.5. It came in at a 9.5, which is solid. Very, very, very happy about that. Then we have the Shining Mewtwo. This card was, I gave this a 9. It came in at a 9. I ain't mad at it. We have the Noctowl. I gave this a 9.5. It came in at an 8.5. This is another card I want to contest because, again, 2 8.5s, 2 9.5s. What do you do when you divide that by 4? You should get a 9. Why am I getting an 8.5? No sense. This card I did expect to be the worst. I gave this a 9.0 because there's just like this bleed right here of like ink that goes up to there. It's quite transparent, but you could see that. You see that? That came with the card, unfortunately. And that's the surface, which came in at a 7.5, which makes total sense. So this came in at an 8. I'm not mad at it. I knew that this card would affect me. They did say that the corners were an 8 and the edges were an 8. I'm looking right now. I mean, they look amazing. Is that... Oh, there's just whiting up there. So I get that. So again, I'm not mad at it. I'm going to keep it. Then we have it an 8.5. The Steelix. I gave this card a 9. It got down to an 8.5, which was really unfortunate. And again, makes sense. It makes sense. The 8.5, I'll take it. Again, the surface is the issue here. I just don't see any surface damage whatsoever with this. Nothing. Not a scratch, not a dent, nothing. So I'm not understanding that. The centering, I get the centering, but the surface I don't get. So there you have it. Next we have the Tyranitar, which I gave a 9.5. It came in at a 9. And we'll take it. It looks incredible. Following that, we have from EX Legend Maker, we have the Hollow Mew. I gave this card a 9.5. It came in at a 9. So we'll take it. Then we have the Reverse Hollow. I gave this a 9.5. It came in at a 9.5. I'm very, very, very happy about this. Here's where my disappointment lied with these, the Crystal Guardian Charizard. Now, I had 2 hollows and 1 reverse hollow. I gave these all a 9. And the reason why I gave them a 9 was predominantly for the laser print line that went straight across this one. On the angle, there's a laser print line there. And this one, the reverse hollow, did not have the laser print line. It was just a little bit heavier to the right. And that was about it. And this should have been a 9, and it got an 8. Surface was a 7, and again, that makes absolutely no sense. I don't see the surface damage. This is definitely something I think I'm going to want to regrade with PSA. And again, this is another card that should have been an 8.5. If I bring if I bring this down, this 1.5 to this card here, I would get a 8.5, an 8, a 9, and a 9. It should be an 8.5. But again, I think I just want to get this regraded with them. And then here as well, center, everything was great. Again, the 8 here, this should have been easily an 8.5. This one right here, same, you know, I'm giving these cards an 8.5. That's what they should have come in, and they didn't. But I think I want to get these all regraded. This one being the worst with that print line. Print line sucks. Both of these had terrible print lines. But That was the only flaw with the print lines. The centering was quite awesome on both of these. So I'm going to get those regraded with PSA. And the last 6 cards actually was last minute cards. I never put a subgrade on them. And it is the Radiant Charizard. I just like literally pulled it that same week. So I was like, hey, let's get it graded. And it came in at a 9.5. Very happy about that. We got this Zapdos from Fire Red Leaf Green. Very, very happy about it. There is some edge wear right there. Outside of that edge wear, the card is in pristine condition. A 9. I'm very happy with that. Then we have the Arcanine EX from Legend Maker. I gave this card also a 9 to a 10. It came in at a 9. I'm not mad at it. We're going to keep it. Now this card I gave a 10. This is the Jirachi, so I'm a little disappointed with this one because I think the centering was awesome on this card. Maybe a little bigger here, but even the centering was a 9.5. So I'm not mad at it. We're going to keep it. And then we have but then a lot of these cards that I got 9s in, I want to check to see if it is a PSA 10, how much more money am I making on it, right? And lastly, we got 2 9.5s. Really happy with these. These are the EX Team Magma versus Team Aqua. They both came in at a 9.5. So glad I entered these gradings at the very end, these last 6. I was only going to do 100 cards and I ended up doing 106. Very excited for this Blaziken as well. Really, really pumped for these two. And that is it. I would love for y'all to stay tuned. I know this was a longer video, but I really would love for y'all to connect and watch the Yu-Gi-Oh! One. I'm filming that shortly after, and that's airing next week. So go and check to see those ratings. My biggest excitement was in that because I literally have one of only like less than 10 cards in the world at like the grade it got in. So I'm so excited for that. It's such a low pop card. I'm so thrilled to share that with y'all. I'm also like, one card I knew it was going to get a poor grade. I didn't think it was going to get the grade it got. Which is very disappointing. So thank y'all for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I hope you learned a lot about how grading works and tools to help support you on how to prep for this, on what to expect, etc. And as you can see, like my overall experience of the 7, I think is fair. It was like a 7.5. My biggest issue was all these cards here I'm contesting because the grade makes no sense. So if you, again, add them up and multiply them by 4, the grade makes no sense with these. And some of these as well, but some of these, the grade is just so low that I'd rather go get them graded at PSA. Everything you see here that I graded up here, those are for sure, I want to sell, and they're going to go up for sale ASAP on eBay. So I'll add my eBay handle as well. They're all going to be sold securely via eBay. So really, really, really pumped for that. And I think that's it for today. Until the next one, y'all, keep collecting, and I'll catch you on the next one.